Hello everybody and welcome back to the next episode of Inhuman Resources, where we've completed Monday, albeit not very successfully, but we did manage to get our kind of certificate of authentication for that department. However, only because we were kind of so bad at our job they don't want us back. Let's move on to Tuesday. Tuesday morning is upon you, another day, another company certification in dire need of acquisition. Ugh. Your thoughts sound more bureaucratic with every passing day. Mr. Burgold would be proud. That's especially scary to think about. Today the reception room is abuzz with staffers scurrying about. Most carry stacks of paperwork the size of toddlers on growth hormones, while others yell over candlestick phones to their colleagues to run faster. One woman is on the ground, hugging her knees, rocking back and forth. She mumbles something about deadlines, having a way too literal meaning in a place like Smirnocore. You're inclined to believe her. However, amid the sea of stress and screaming, one man stands above all others, seeming to enjoy this. Statuesque in his demeanour, he approaches you with a resplendent grin. Speak of the corporate devil. Hello there, friend. Glad to see you up and at it so early this morning, and even glad to see someone with a little pep left in their step yesterday. Ah. But you must have no trouble smiling, eh? I heard your first certification went quite smoothly yesterday. Smoothly might be a strong word, but... Smile and nod while omitting Monday's most disturbing details. Your cheeks ache as they stretch to match the gaping breadth of Aboya's smirk. You spare a thought for Melusine, wondering if her face feels this sore all the time. Regardless, your mask must be just as convincing. The behemoth doesn't suspect a thing. Be sure to keep up the good work. But while you're at it, I have a bit of a favour to ask. You might even call it a personal one. A favour? Before you ask no more, the man presses a breakfast thick finger against your lips. His blue eyes thin into slits, scanning the crowds of scrambling staffers with unmitigated suspicion. Giant leans in close, almost leaning to whisper in your ear. His breath burns hot as a furnace fire against the side of your face. I don't mean to alarm you, but I've heard reports of rather suspicious behaviour occurring as of late. Fake government documentation going missing, doppelganger IDs stolen, invoices from clients spotted in the trash. Coincidences too convenient to merely be happenstance. I fear there may be another Emiliano among us. A traitor hoping to cause a data breach, just ahead of our historic partnership. And it's my job to have them disposed of. Your stomach twists into camera-like knots, whether because of fear or by his breath, sweat drips down your brow, leaving you lightheaded. You work your jaw, wag your tongue, unable to form words with it, and unsure if you even should. Do you tell him this must be coincidence, caused by office-wide overwork? Do you feign some fear of getting hurt? Or do you assume, for survival's sake, that he knows the rat is you? Just as the pressure becomes too much to bear, Burger claps your shoulder with the force of a speeding Winnebago. As you cough, catching your breath, he backs away, grinning wider than ever. Long story short, I greatly appreciate you reporting on any suspicious behaviours. A keen eye like yours, circulating all across the office, would be a priceless asset in this hunt. Now I'm afraid both of us have much to do today, to tar for now, and best of luck with your certifications. With a jaunty hum and jolly stride, he fades away into the manic crowds, leaving you alone and alarmed. You need to hurry. If Burger's suspicions worsen, you can run out of time even sooner than expected. Scrolling past your scrambling colleagues, you make way for the elevators. Where will you go? We've already done encryptology. We could do substitution, maybe? We'll do substitution. Go there. Down in B1. Proceed to the substitution department. After an unpleasantly unsettling descent to the basement, your elevator dings to a stop. You gag on a stench of blood and ethanol as the grillage doors creak open. The substitutions department entrance appears to be an awkward cross between a hospital's ER lobby, a horror movie's bleakest hallway, and some cartoonishly pretentious country club foyer, all in the worst ways possible. There's a lot to take in, and the more you do take in, the more your stomach gurgles with disgusted fear. On the floor, on the ceiling, and scattered about the hall. Somehow, none of these disgusting details can possibly compare to the countless trophies adoring the department's walls. Much like the strange surgery room you saw through Aboya's two-way mirror, this place has been decorated with an assortment of stuffed animal heads, and not just the usual stags or boars you might expect. There are dozens of different decapitated beasts, arranged in a flagrant disregard for good taste, and with zero concern for the high cost of high-quality taxidermy. There are birds of prey and crocodiles, albino dolphins and kangaroos, dairy cows and house cats. But most of all, there are people. Human faces, young and old, have been mounted side by side with those of beasts. All of them are staring blankly, with impassive plastic eyes, mouths agape as though begging to not be defiled. Beneath each one is a small gold plaque, inscribed with the victim's name, the date of their demise, and a cause of death. The description ranges in nature from unauthorized socialist spokesperson to employee of the month. And there, peeking between the remains of a roaring lion and a balding grandfather, you see a sign pointing deeper into the department steps. It reads, Substitution Medical Unit. In for a penny, in for a pound. With a lump in your throat and an itch at your neck, you step into the shadows of those twisting halls, try not to notice how many of the mounted faces resemble your own. You wonder what it would feel like to have your hollowed-out skull stuffed with straw. As you follow the arrow's instructions, the hallway becomes engulfed by denser darkness. The flickering fluorescents above have extinguished altogether, and the only light still guiding you is a plasticized glint in the taxidermy victim's eyes. With every step, the blood-slicked floor squishes beneath your feet. Your socks soon become soaked with something too warm and anxious to be more than a day old. Right as the urge to run away reaches a breaking point, you turn the corner and behold a set of double doors. Above them hangs a neon sign reading Surgery Room. Odds are this is where Emiliano was carved apart and fixed, but thankfully the operation in progress light is off today. With a little luck, you will get a first-hand glance at the lobotomy process. Not yet, anyway. Who knows what will happen after once this mutiny backfires? Yep, pretty much. Gathering your courage, you nervously push the creaky doors open, scrunching your eyes shut to prevent yourself from seeing something that might scar them forever. Thankfully, there are no blood-curdling screams, nor sounds of saws grinding through frontal lobes. Just the slosh of a mop scrubbing tile, and the non-stop clacking of a familiar typewriter. Sure enough, you stand in the room. You saw across the two-way mirror during your interview. Same imposing antlered deer heads, same circular sterile lamps, same array of Technicolor televisions, and same pair of dentist chairs facing the reflective glass. At least both seats are empty this time. That being said, the floor is still peppered with moistening, glistening chunks of purplish red meat, no doubt left behind by prior patients. Half-digested breakfast bubbles up your tonsils as you recognize a plucked eyeball resting amid the flesh. Ocular nerves still dangle from one end like roots. It's quickly mopped away by Hunchback's 100-something-year-old janitor with a saggy, sun-tanned face. In stark contrast to the man's khaki cap and jumpsuit uniform, a pair of enormous cutting-edge headphones completely cover his ears. You can hear the thump of hardcore electric bass blasting through the casque. Unperturbed by both the bloody bits and bassy beats, Melusine herself sits at a small steel desk in the corner. Her fingers move across the typewriter at an even more breakneck rhythm than the janitor's music. No doubt drafting a report regarding their latest replacement. Neither person seems to notice you. Do you want to change that? A janitor might have insights other employees lack. Let's introduce myself. You approach the old man with a smile and a wave, but he doesn't react. You notice his pupils are so milky white from cataracts he may well be blind. Judging by the potent stench of anomia seeping out of his mop bucket, his corrosive cleaning chemicals are to blame. You shake your hand in front of his face a little closer than before, then a little more, then a lot more. Soon you're adjusting to the point of parody, but not even a twitch. Getting a little impatient, you try a few more strategies, tapping him on the shoulder, clearing your throat, shouting excuse me at the top of your lungs, trying to yank that dumb mop right off his stupid hands so he pays attention. Nothing. Deaf to your words and numb to your touch, the fellow just keeps scrubbing away at a blasé pace. You take a closer look at his massive headphones, wondering if they might be the source of your frustration. You're no leading expert on the cutting-edge audio peripherals, but these things clearly aren't standard-issue medical products. They're modern and undoubtedly expensive. But based on what you know about the company, they might be doing something to his brain, something much more dangerous than volume-induced deafness or musically-induced dopamine. What do you think will happen if you try removing his headphones? Let's not do that. I feel like that's a bad idea. Being a janitor company like this must be a tough enough job already. No need to make it harder by taking away his sole distraction. Yet as you leave the fellow to his business, a hushed whisper creeps through the bassy thumping. Good on you for being stronger than your own curiosity, kid. Around here, the less you know, the less it hurts. Keep that in mind if you ever feel the temptation to go looking for answers again. Well, at least we've earned his respect. You whip around, expecting to see the old man finally looking your way, but his eyes still blankly stare ahead, his mop lazily sloshing around the gore-slicked ground. That being said, you think you notice a tiny smile stretch across his fatigue-sagged face. What a weird guy. Better leave this particular stone unturned, lest you unearth some truly creepy insects hidden beneath. Besides, you have a lot more to do today than mingle with the groundskeeper. We will speak to Melusine. You call out the bad guy receptionist, but much like the first time you met, she remains entirely focused on her typewriting. As you scan her grinning face answers, you notice a small desk bell at her side. An attached note reads, "Ring me." Part of you suspects it's a practical joke, but it's a naive, innocent part of you that died after starting work at Smirnocore. Plus, Sancienne doesn't exactly strike you as a prankster, especially when the handwriting on her note looks like a cry for help. Either way, you have no intention to start treating women like some slave-like servant from a bad British TV drama, especially since persistence proved sufficient last time. With a firm snap of your fingers, you whip Melusine up. Blinking with confusion, she turns away from her typewriter. Her rigid, mask-like smile softens at the sight of you. Good to see you're still yourself. I won't lie, I was worried Mr. Burgard already caught on to us. It took hours to convince me that we still had a chance of succeeding over the weekend. You bristle at her casual mention of the anonymous traitor, especially with another employee in the room. You break into cold sweats as you turn towards the janitor. He seems to be focused on mopping the floor and listening to music. What if he just wants you to think that? Oh, don't worry about Roy. He's barely said a word since the Kennedy assassination. Shooting the poor guy for Smirnocore really did a number on him. Anyway, he's my favourite co-worker for a reason. As long as you don't touch his music, you may as well be in an empty room. He's basically harmless, not to mention half-deaf and certifiably blind. Speaking certifiably, did you make any headway with those nursery certifications yet? Just the one, unfortunately. You withdraw the strange punch card and show it to Melusine, though you didn't specify the hassle you went through to earn it. Your tone betrays considerable worry. Once you ask what kind of test is needed to earn the substitution department's equivalent. The receptionist makes a pensive face, eyes contemplating the answer to that question, or calculating the time remaining to collect the others. Eventually, she whips open a desk drawer, reaching inside to retrieve a coffee-stained sheet of cardboard, punch full of holes, and smeared in coagulated brain matter. On its surface, printed in blocky font, are the words "Substitution Certification." You were already introduced to this department during your interview, and you've overseen a human being's replacement. As far as I'm concerned, that's more hands-on experience of Smirnocore than anyone deserves. If someone asks you how you got this, just quote some of the explanations Abuya gave you about tech procedure, and say the surgeons were very polite whenever you asked questions. That should trick them into thinking you passed the practical clearance exam. Practical clearance exam? You're even more grateful for this than you thought you would be. That makes two. Halfway there. I wish I could do more to help, but I'm up to my neck in quality assurance reports, so I'll still be shackled to my typewriter until Thursday. Still, let me know if you have any questions. I may not be the best experienced person on payroll, but I'm more than willing to share information that could help us reach the hive. Her smile spreads wider, regaining its usual customer service firmness. Maybe it's a deliberate act to throw your microchips choosing detectors off the scent of an impending betrayal. Either way, better make the most of this insider information. You don't know what you're up against? Ask Melusine about the other departments. Receptionist seems unsurprised by your interest in the subject. In fact, she was probably expecting it. Which department do we want to know more about? Goodness me. We've already done encryptology. We're doing substitution now, aren't we? Let's ask about future-proofing. Considering Smirnocore's obsession with archaic tech and rewriting the past, a department with the word future in its name seems odd, until you realise the proofing part that means they can protect the company against progress. Turns out you're almost right. Future-proofing is basically in charge of controlling results and narrative. Smellical doesn't like unpredictable consequences whenever they replace people, so this department makes sure each doppelganger deployment is plotted out in advance and always goes according to plan. Sometimes that means giving duplicates and underpaid actors a script to follow, to ensure that some personality changes make sense to the public, and other times it involves collapsing a whole country's economy over the course of several years, through a secretive campaign of social disturbance, calculated down to the tiniest measurable decimal. It's complicated, high-stakes stuff, and has a way of making you question everything you've ever known. You don't need Sarcian to tell you that. A deluge of doubt instantly floods your mind. How accurate can your knowledge of history be if you never witnessed it yourself? How can you tell which global crises or social activists are genuine, rather than engineered to fit company projections? How can you trust the world you live in if you can't begin to tell which parts are made up to conceal the truth? The longer you think about it, the more impossible the concept of objective reality seems to become. If it makes you feel any better, the people in future-proofing aren't very good at their jobs. See, the department is basically split in two. On one side, there's the statisticians. They calculate the cause and effect of every single replacement to make sure it produces a specific, mathematically sound outcome. On the other end, there's the narratives. They plan out the format of each replacement to make sure it remains compelling and believable to the public, without contradicting pre-existing Smirnocore interferences. Even though both teams need each other to function, they're also fighting over whose role is most important, or which side should call the shots. And because of all the arguments, they barely get work done most days. Great. Also, your certification tests will involve picking favourites between two groups of power-hungry egomaniacs. As if the Smirnocore radium situation wasn't bad enough already. What about evaporation? This is definitely the department you know least about. The name isn't exactly intuitive, and even during your onboarding, evaporation was barely mentioned. Almost like it was the black sheep of Smirnocore. Melusine's uncertainty lends credence to your hunch. I'm afraid I can't tell you much. I've only visited the place once, and the head supervisor immediately asked me to leave. He said I lacked the empathy to do what was necessary, or something like that. Anyway, all I know for sure is that the department is extremely understaffed and very few people want to work there, since they handled the hands-on part of replacement procedures. Kidnapping, assassinations, that kind of stuff. I expect your certification exam to get a little messy, or for it to involve some pretentious discussions with a very self-serious, unfriendly man. Oh goody. Not only are you unsure which of these possibilities sounds the least appealing, but how is an empathy a prerequisite to work in a department charged with murdering people? It sounds like they care more about their victims' well-being than Abuya cared about Emiliano at least. Whatever evaporation puts you through, it can't possibly be more sickening than supervising a lobotomy. At least you sure hope not. We've done cryptology already, we don't need to know about that. What can you tell me about the hive? You should probably call it the nursery. You're not one of those people who have fun around here, and hopefully you never will be. Despite everyone making a big deal out of the place, you still have no idea what makes it special. It's like people avoid talking about it at all costs. As if confirming your suspicions, Melusine's baggy eyes bulge out of their sockets, her teeth grind together even more loudly than the janitor's muffled music. I'm afraid that isn't a workplace-appropriate conversation. Maybe you should change the subject. Is she hiding something from you? With resolute authority, you demand the receptionist to provide an explanation. Why can't she tell you anything? Is it because of what's down there? Is it because she's planning to betray you once you reach it, or... A shaking, bony-fingered hand clamps over your lips. As you muffle protests for Melusine to let go, she shushes you insistently, demanding you listen close. Your microchip's warning signal is approaching the limit of its patience. You swallow hard and try your hardest to think about something completely unrelated, in the hopes of appeasing its senses. It takes a solid minute of pretending to care about the competitive water polo for the strident siren to die down. The nursery is a highly restricted area. It's forbidden for employees lacking full certification to discuss its contents, under punishment of immediate replacement. Plus, I've never actually been there before. All I do is get us both killed by explaining all the nothing I saw. To prove her point, your microchip starts flashing again. You focus your mind on another suite of ingloriously athletic activities, trying to delay your lethal injection. By the time the warning signal finally falls silent, your turtleneck is soaked with cold sweat, and your heart is beating faster than the siren. For a moment there, you were convinced that you'd have a heart attack, and die thinking about some awkward combination of martial arts, badminton, and extreme rabbit show jumping. Sorry I couldn't tell you much. But is there anything less controversial I could help with? Not really. Let's change subjects. Resources reception seems flattered to hear you expressing interest in her, or maybe offended. Hard to tell without a taut smile. Since when have you been working with Elle? Your anonymous co-conspirator alluded to an ongoing partnership with Melusine that never quite panned out. We have no clue why things went sideways, let alone how the two started collaborating. Judging by Melusine's expression, she's not confident about the details either. To be honest, I don't remember the exact date they first contacted me. It was a few years ago. I thought some maniac hacked my smartphone so they could harass me into divulging company secrets, so I refused to cooperate. They called me a few more times trying to convince me they wanted to destroy Smirnocle, but I was too scared to believe them. I was sure that if I did what they said, I'd get killed by someone in upper management. Then a few months ago, I don't know, something in me snapped, I guess. Maybe I saw one lobotomy me too many. But I wanted out, and I wanted out badly. So I agreed to team up. At first they just wanted me to get a few certifications and spend some time in different rooms to gather information about the company's structure. But as soon as the radio-making partnerships started happening, their requests became more extreme. Stealing info, breaching NDA, stuff even more dangerous than what got Emiliano replaced. I didn't have the nerve to go through with it, not alone, but Elle was strangely okay with that. They said I didn't have to risk my neck. Just make sure to support the backup they've been bringing to help turn the tides. A trump card there waiting in the wings for a long time. A telling glance implies that trump card was you. And you'd be inclined to believe that if it weren't for the last part of her story. You only met Elle a few weeks ago. That obviously seems like a long time to you. Plus, how could you be waiting in the wings to help Melusine when you didn't know who she was or what needed to be done? Either Elle was lying to make Melusine feel better, or your timely hiring by Smirnocle isn't accidental. As suspicions wrinkle your face, the receptionist is quick to jump to the hacker's defense. I know Elle doesn't exactly inspire confidence. I still have no idea who they really are or what they're really after, but we do share a common goal. Despite having plenty of chances to sell me out, they never did. Considering what we're up against, that speaks volumes about their intentions. Besides, it's not like I have a lot of people I can call friends around here. I'll take what I can get. You're inclined to argue otherwise, but you doubt it would convince her. Nor would it change the fact you need Elle's guidance to succeed. Muttering misgivings under your breath, you move on to another topic. Let's change subjects. I don't want to push her too much. And you don't waste too much time chatting. The clock is ticking, and you don't have the luxury of letting it tick for long. Either Melusine looks disappointed to see you go. She respects your decision and returns to her prior typewriting-induced trance. Okay, let's look at the bloody pile of guts and gore. Stick with gore, flat and facet. You first suspect the object to be a peeled-off human face. Instead, it appears to be an interview transcript, labelled as evidence to justify the lobotomy of an evaporation client. A formal one, you'd assume. State your name for the record. Vasily Williams, pleased to meet you. Evaporation qualification. You're a scrapper. This is a big old document, this one. I had a child with a woman unintentionally. The kid was born, I was afraid that I had left her without a word. I'm a coward, dirty, worthless coward. That's why I'm supposed to react like that in front of patients. But I was abandoned as a child, much like your daughter. Afraid I'm emotionally unfit to oversee your case. Please wait here while I retrieve a more impartial colleague. You want to undergo evaporation, become an opera singer. Okay, so there's a little bit like Okay, it seems to me like this person needed a bit more courage and came to evaporation to help get that, deeming himself a coward, but was denied evaporation qualification. Liability disposal protocols greenlit. So he was gotten rid of. Time to get going, you got other certifications to collect. Waving Melusine goodbye despite the fact she isn't paying attention, you promise to meet up and finally reach the hive. Sprinting back to the elevators, feeling blood squirt beneath your shoes, you hope you're heading somewhere less disgusting. Where will you go? We've done cryptology, we've done substitution. It's future-proofing or evaporation. Let's go to evaporation next. Proceed to the evaporation department. Despite following the building map's directions, finding the evaporation department is no easy feat. There are so many unmarked doorways and twisting concrete halls standing between you and your destination. You almost get the impression that the place has been quarantined from the rest of Simonacore. Almost like a relative living in a retirement home no one wants to visit. But I tell you what, as we are moving on to another department, we'll call things there. Pretty short episode today, but it seems that Melusine has given us all we need, so thankfully we don't have to conduct any horrible experiments to gain our certification. More to come soon indeed. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.